It's a few minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. and it's still Daybreak, your day starter here on Trust Television. If you've missed any part of the conversation, you could follow our activities across our social media platforms and also catch our live stream on YouTube to follow the conversation. This morning's discussion is going to be on an issue that's been causing a bit of worry and talking about the Nigeria Police and the Nigeria Police Service Commission. Some would call it a heated conversation in the polity. Well, the Nigeria Police Force and Police Service Commission are engaged in a heated power struggle over the recruitment of constables. The Nigeria Police Force insists it should manage the recruitment process, claiming it has the expertise to identify the right candidates with the necessary qualifications and aptitudes for effective policing. On the other hand, the Police Service Commission says it has the constitutional mandate to oversee the recruitment of constables, and any attempt by the NPF, that's the Nigeria Police Force, to usurp this authority is unlawful. This dispute has led to allegations of underhand dealings, lawsuit, and a stalled recruitment process, undermining the integrity of the exercise and the effectiveness of the police force. And joining us to unpack this situation and also provide perspective and analysis is a former Assistant Inspector General of Police, Wilson Inalegwu. Welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure for me to be here.
AIG, first, I would want to ask, what do you make of the current situation as it is, especially when you first heard about it?
Yeah, well, I think it's been on for a while. We had the former IG Smith, tendering his resignation and leaving the position, and because of those arguments. But you see, the Police Service Commission and the Nigeria Police Force, even the Ministry of Police Affairs, and then the Police Trust Fund, is one big family. And this big family must work together for the interests of the common man. The public is very critical to the service provided by the police. And for this service to be effective, these four must work together, including the presidency, so that the Nigerian people can enjoy a state of peace and security. While the police, the Inspector General of Police, is the operational head of the Nigeria Police Force, the Police Service Commission has also her mandate of supporting, let me put it that way, the police in the performance of those duties. In management, you talk of human resources and material resources. The Police Service Commission can be said to be that aspect of that human resource, because the Constitution provides that the Police Service Commission shall appoint, promote, and discipline police officers.
Where's the gray area here? Because if the law explicitly states that the Police Service Commission has the mandate to hire, discipline, and fire police officers, putting it mildly, then why do we have a scandal?
Yeah, I think we've had issue of semantics. I think they went to court to see if appointments and recruitment is the same. But if you ask me, it is one family, and this is resolvable. It shouldn't be prolonged. Why do I say that? What do we want? We want officers on the street patrolling. And this segment, this category of officers, they are critical to the issue of crime prevention, because they are those young officers, constables, that you have. And so the president did well by approving that for every year you recruit 10,000. Because if you go to our police stations, the number is of personnel is grossly depleted, because you have retirements, you have dismissals, you have deaths, and the rest of it. And so when you are not able to replace, and you have a police station that has an establishment of perhaps 300 personnel, and you're having about 40. They cannot do. But you see, the appeal that I have, let me say to that an appeal. The Police Service Commission and all, they went to court, and I'm told that the Supreme Court has made a judgment that it is the responsibility of the Police Service Commission to recruit, to appoint, and otherwise. But you see, I think it is a family issue that shouldn't even brought to the public domain.
Indeed.
And I want to say something.
Okay.
You see, it has a history. The Police Service Commission has been there. But from 1966, we've had a military intervention. And when the military comes in, the Constitution is suspended. And so you don't have all part of the Constitution being implemented. And so that becomes an issue. You have from 66 up to 79, 83, and then 1999. Of course, but it's a good thing that we now have 25 years of uninterrupted democracy. And so there should be a kind of adjustment. We get used to this. That since the military are not there, that power that previously resided with the Inspector General of Police, and now that the Police Service Commission has more or less expanded, they have recruited, they have more staff in their fold, and because they have more staff, obviously they want to say, look, we want some of our powers back. But it shouldn't be a problem, because if you read the Establishment Act 2001, I think Section 8 give the Police Service Commission the power of delegation, that it can delegate any of its powers. So any police officer. And I think what used to happen, that power was delegated. And then it was like, the practice was like, from Assistant Superintendent of Police and above, the Police Service Commission was more, concerned with that. But now they came and said, look, this power we have delegated, we are taking it back. And then the matter was not helped, because the National Assembly passed the amended Police Act and Regulation, now gave the power of recruitment to the IG, to the police, that there should be a recruitment committee. And so that complicated it. But I think the interpretation, I am loyal to the Nigeria Police Force, I am loyal to the Police Service Commission, I am loyal to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But if the Constitution is the grand norm, then the Inspector General of Police or the police management team and the management team of the Police Service Commission must find a way of judging and to resolve this. And I think the IG can also go to the Police Service Commission. I think you have a lot in your plate. Come up with some policies.
But then again, AIG, this issue, some would say, is an issue in continuum, because the former IGP also, that's Alkali Baba, also had issues with the Police Service Commission. The former chairman of the PSC, that's Muslim Smith, also IGP at one point, resigned controversially, some would say because of this recruitment. We see Solomon Arase resign. Some say he was sacked. Well, it's a resignation, and now we have Hamisu Arugungu, a former DIG, take over. Some would say, some way, somehow, this issue has managed to fester 3 Police Service Commission chairmen and 2 Inspector General of Police, which currently calls for the removal of IGP Egbetokun for alleged misconduct.
Yeah, you see, it shouldn't be so. And I think the government has a responsibility. There is no society that can operate properly without order and stability. And I think the government, there is an Attorney General for the Federation, and the Inspector General of Police has the legal department, and I think the Police Service Commission should have, and there is a minister, there is a national security advisor who is more or less the national security coordinator. And I think when we talk about synergy among security agencies, synergy between the police and the military and the DSS, the NIA and the rest of it, and if within the family there seems to be this hiccup, I think it's something the government must take seriously. And how do you take it seriously? The Supreme Court is said to have given a judgment. The judgment and all that is going on. But this thing shouldn't be allowed to fester for too long, because officers are needed. And I think the way to go about it is the Attorney General of the Federation, who is the advisor on legal issues to Mr. President, the Office of National Security Advisor, whom I can describe as the National Security Coordinator, and the IG should take, a lesson from his legal officers to advise him, and the minister who has an overarching responsibility for managing the Nigeria police, because he is the minister and his minister of state should sit down and come up with an advisory for the president. And because if you don't do that, and the police must be completely independent, not bending to the left or bending to the right. And that is why you have the Police Service Commission acting as checks and balances, not taking instruction from anyone, which is important because that increases public confidence.
Now, in all of this, you have mentioned the need for effective policing, and that can only be done if the police has the right things in terms of manpower and equipment. Now, in I think 2021 or 2020, I really can't remember the date, but former President Muhammadu Buhari had given directive for the recruitment of around 60,000 police personnel,
10,000
per year. Now, so far, we understand that just 20,000 of that recruitment has been done, and some way, somehow, this recruitment tussle between the PSC and the NPF has stalled that development. Do you think that this is still a matter that is within the confines of the Minister of Police Affairs, or do you feel that it now requires higher executive intervention, say from the President?
Well, certainly something needs to be done about it. It shouldn't be allowed to fester. I had stated that earlier. But I think what needs to be done is for the Inspector General of Police, I think the Minister of Police Affairs and the National Security Advisor, if you ask me, and the Attorney General of the Federation, they need to invite the Inspector General of Police, in fact the police management team and the management team of the Police Service Commission to a round table.
But we now have a new chairman. How do we manage that?
No. The new chairman is a policeman. He's a lawyer, a very sound lawyer for that matter. So he is not unfamiliar. And I think members of the Police Service Commission, the new constituted, they are all seasoned. The DIG Taiwo Lakano and the DIG Arugungu, they are very seasoned. And of course, you have a justice of the retired justice of the Supreme Court. Let them come together and look at the gray areas. What I think, like what you are looking for in Sokoto is in your Sokoto. It is such an easy thing to do for either the chairman or the Inspector General of Police. And I think it requires a lot of craft, a lot of wisdom, because that Section 8 of the Establishment Act 2001, which gives the power of delegation. I mean, if I am the Inspector General of Police, for example, I'm not a police officer again, assuming that way, you can still find a way of, meeting and say, look, let's look at this area. I am the end users of the production are the public, because it is public that benefit. So what I think they need to do, first of all, I repeat, and I mean it. This is what I think should be done. The Minister of Police Affairs, the two ministers, the Minister and the Minister of State, the NSA, the Attorney General of the Federation, the Inspector General of Police, and the Chairman of Police Service Commission, and not only the chairman, because there are agitation among the staff. If you read social media,
of the PSC,
yes, the PSC, because there is a kind of agitation, because if you see the statements, the union of whatever, they continue, they are also issuing statements.
The Joint Union Congress.
The Joint Union Congress. So, what I think in such meetings, you can even have their representative, and you deal with this matter once and for all, because we need police officers on the street. We need police officers in police stations, and we shouldn't allow this officer, if indeed we are serious in addressing issues of crime and criminality and the issues of insecurity, and it is multiplying. Look at what is happening on the West Coast in the Sahel region, and we cannot pretend to be dealing with the issue of crime. People are being kidnapped, and personnel need to be brought in to be trained, and we can't even recruit. And we just sit down and we think it is normal. I don't think it's normal. So, and it goes a long way. But all I'm saying is, the Supreme Court judgment is there. It doesn't matter. But they can still sit down. Because none of these three, all the people I mentioned, should go to sleep and leave this matter hanging. Because it is very serious. Because of the critical role, because of police primacy in internal security, we need a well-trained police force, a well-resourced police force in terms of human resources, in terms of material. So if you are not able to bring in, and then the issue of bringing in, it is a collaborative effort, even though it's the power of the Police Service Commission. I don't think the Police Service Commission, they don't have training institutions. They are still materials. When they recruit or when they employ, just like the Civil Service Commission, they hire and they send to the various ministries and you get them trained. But there is a need for wisdom in all of this.
All right. Now, the need for wisdom, and you especially mentioned the Joint Service Union in the PSC. Now, they released a statement. In fact, they had a press conference where they had leveled allegations, and there were also counter-allegations against the PSC by the Nigeria Police Force, talking about the statement that was released by Muyiwa Adejobi, the force spokesperson, where he accused the PSC, or rather disregarded the list, the recruitment list, that list of successful candidates for the recruitment exercise that was released. He said it was fraught with corruption, and the GSC was not having it. That's the Joint Service Commission. They also accused the IGP of infusing allegedly around 1,000 names, into the system. So these allegations and counter-allegations, some way, somehow, has heated up this current debacle even more. Would you still describe it as a simple solution when both organizations have started washing their dirty linens in public?
Yeah, when tempers, when emotions are at play, you have such situations.
So this might be an ego issue.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't describe it as an ego. You see, it's difficult to understand issues in perspective. And I think when issues like this come, you have to have a kind of self-retrospection. When you reflect, then you react, because there are procedures, because one of the things you must do when you find yourself in this situation, you go back to the law. You will have the Police Service Commission Establishment Act. We have the Constitution. We have the Nigeria Police Acts and Regulation. We have the administrative procedures. We have the training institutions. So some of these things, you reflect. When you reflect, then you have a measured, response. I don't expect, and I think I'm happy that since those two statements by the police and by the Joint Service Union, I think a lot of wisdom has come into play. And I think these are not issues you can solve in the public domain.
Indeed.
These are issues you've got to have deep thought. And when you reflect on this, you've got to be guided by the relevant laws. And when you are guided by the relevant laws, you are in a better position to come to solution, to arrive at a better solution. So, I want, if you ask me, the statement, all those statements, I want to say that they never happened. And I think, I want to think they never happened. They don't happen on the spur of the moment. And I'm sure both of them, they've reflected, and there are more much, I'm sure they're adopting other methods of,
all right,
I'm sure, I'm not privy to any meeting, but I think very soon
you seem really positive about the issues getting resolved. It's been AIG Wilson and Inalegwu talking to us about the developments, especially with regards to the open infighting between the PSC, the Police Service Commission, and the Nigeria Police Force. Of course, in the interest of Nigerians and its security, one would say that these issues are resolved so the Nigerian Police Force could get the manpower that it needs to keep Nigerians safe and secure. That's been the discussion segment of Daybreak this morning. We'll now go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll be bringing you the newspaper review segment. Stay with us.